guys, welcome to a new video here in JS Education. My name is Carlos Santana and this is the video number 21 for the course Developing a Headless CMS with TypeScript and GraphQL. So let's start. I record this video right away after the video 20, so I already update my packages and I don't have any change. But remember that you need to run always ncu .u in your backend and frontend and try to update those packages. Okay, so the first thing we need to do now is going to backend, source, GraphQL resolvers, and then field. So in the last video we include the delete field mutation, but now we are going to create the edit field mutation. So basically on this one we receive the ID and an input. So the input is the changes that we want to update. And then field to edit, we need to find it first with the primary key ID. If we find it, then we do or we perform an update where we pass all the data that we want to update on the input, where the ID is the ID that we are passing. And then we return the updated field. Then you need to go to GraphQL types field. You need to include the new mutation edit field. And we are going to create a new input update field input here. So I'm putting right here. It's a little bit different than the create. I mean, it's some of the same as the create field input, but we are not including the model ID in the update. So that's the difference. Then you need to go to create, front end, dashboard components, models, and we're open the create field model. And we are going to make some changes here that is going to help us to prevent some problems when we edit. So the thing is that when we create a new field, basically after we create and then when we want to edit the same field, we can keep some data on memory. So we don't want that. So that's why we need to make some changes here. So basically here after the context, we need to include this hook use previous that we are going to create on this video later. After this, you need to go to line 69 before the methods, and you need to set the previous props like this. Props is going to use previous, and we're going to pass the options. Those options are for the model. So in the model we have the identifier and the ID, right? And the type. Data type. So that's why we want all the time like the previous props. And at the end we just need to use right here before the return the use effect and asking like if we have previous props and the options are different from the current options, then we are going to set the type with the current option we have. This is just to avoid some problems that I saw when I include the delete, the edit field. Now let's go to delete model. In here I made a mistake, and if you see the file is called delete model, but the class name is delete field model. So basically we need to change the class name to match the file delete model, and also at the end. So those are minor changes. And then you need to create now the file edit field model.tsx. So this one is gonna be similar to the create. I mean, it's a little bit longer, but it's pretty much the same. So in this one also we use use previous. We include the mutation edit field mutation, and then here from the options we are going to get the ID and the fields. Okay, we use the previous to get the previous props. We initialize of data like this, and then basically we set the required fields, the loading. We create our mutation, edit field mutation, and pretty much is the same. Well, probably the difference is that here I'm using the onClose function. Like before close the model, I'm going to set the values to initial values to reset the form. Because when we edit, basically once you save, the data is still on the form. So every time we close the model, we want to reset that part. So that's why I'm doing this set values with initial values. The unchanged is the same that we have on the create. We validate the order. The handle submit is going to validate for empty values on app name. Here, I'm not sure if it's app name. I think this part is wrong. Yeah, so I'm going to comment this out or remove this part for now. Well, let's keep it. Let's keep it, and then at the end I will check if it's necessary or not, because app name doesn't look to me like it should be going on this method right now. Okay, so if something is empty, we mark them as red. Otherwise, we perform or edit field mutation. We pass the field ID and the values, and if got edited correctly, we redirect to the same page. In the use effect, we need to get current fields, basically getting the fields that are related to that field ID. Otherwise, we get like an empty array. So if the previous props options is different than the new options, but then our current field is like has some value, then we set values with the current field. I mean the first position of the current field. Remember that the filter is going to return always an array. So that's why we do this. Also, if we get some data here, even if the options are different. And then wait until we set our form context. So basically, if our values are not ready, we just return an empty div here. So in here is the same form as the create field model, but I mean, we get all the data from values that field name, values that identifier. You know what, like this field name is the value that we need to validate here on the empty values. Field name and identifier, like that's the important field. And then the order, the description, and then all the others toggles that we have for is required, is primary key, is unique, is system, is height, is media. And then here we have two buttons, one to cancel and one to update the field. And basically we are going to execute the handle submit here. So that's it for this file. Now let's go to schema fields index. And we need to import edit field model here. And then we are going to add also a state to control the model is open edit. And then handle edit model. And then on the methods, we are going to add the handle edit. So this is going to set the data for the ID and the fields, and then it's going to open the model. And the model is going to be rendered like this. Edit field is open edit, and then we on the options we pass the data here. And finally on this file we are going to add the new action. I figured out what was wrong with the styles the last time, so I made a mistake and I put this div for this, the entire block, all this. One div later, I put it here. So just make sure you are putting this on the div after here, after this one information, inside name information, right after information, just make sure you are putting this block here. So in that case, it's going to fix the CSS error we saw in the last video. Okay, so in this, we are going to use the edit icon, and then we are going to call handle edit, and we are going to pass the ID of the field. Now we need to go to GraphQL fields, and we need to create a new mutation called edit field.mutation.ts. Like this. So basically we are going to pass all this data to the mutation. The first thing we need to pass is the ID, and the second the input, and then all these values. And it's going to return us the updated field with all this data. Okay, so now let's create our hook use previous .ts. So this is pretty much the hook that we need to use. Basically, we are using reference ref, and then basically on the use effect, we are going to set our current value that we are getting there. So this is the way, like, the problem with React using the hooks is that we cannot get easily our previous props. Remember that when React was using class names, you have like, for example, a component will receive props or something like that, and then you have some way to get the next props or the previous props. Also, when you use component update, you had the previous props and the previous state. But using the new React hooks, that's not like so easy to get. So you need to use this hook to be able to get that information. Okay, so let's test now our application. Let's see if everything works fine. Okay, so let's go to the dashboard. Okay, then I'm going to blog. I'm going to this model. I have this field, and if you see now, or the icons are centered, before was here on the top, and now I can edit this part. So basically my field name is gonna be author, identify author, the order, etc. So in here we can edit it completely, right? Like I can change this to be title, mark field as required, order 1. I update it, and then basically redirects to the same page. So now it's been updated correctly. Then we can create a new one, slug, and then let's say content. And let's suppose you want to edit your content, and then you want to change the order probably to be 1. So now you can like update it in that case. So yeah, and the system fields are, if you see here, we don't have any actions for this because those are from the system, so it cannot be removed or edited. So I think that's it for this video. I hope you like it. If you have any question, please feel free to join to Slack community. The link is on the description. If you really like those videos, please help me sharing those with your friends. And also subscribe to this new channel. That will help me a lot. So thank you so much for your attention, and see you in the next video. Bye.